Hey, what's up, everyone? So, if you've been consuming my content, you know how passionate I am about emotional intelligence, social intelligence, improving all those measures of success so that you actually earn more money, live a happier life, communicate more effectively with people so that you succeed really in every area of your life, your personal, social, dating, and financial life. And so, today, I really dove deep into one of the most comprehensive, expensive strengths and personality tests out there called the DISC assessment. It's well known. It was popularized and created by a psychologist. And it's a very comprehensive assessment of yourself to kind of understand your strengths and weaknesses. And I even talked to a consultant who really knew his stuff about this and all the facets and details of a DISC assessment. And I want to share with you today all the big lessons that I learned out of it that can help you improve your emotional and social intelligence as well as your general communication and social skills so that you can succeed in life, whether it's with your spouse or your children or anyone else, because it matters. Like, these are things that improve how you appear in terms of attractiveness to the opposite gender if you're trying to date, or it helps how you communicate with potential customers or clients that you're trying to win over, or coworkers or bosses or subordinates, so that you get your point across, you get the results faster, and you don't get into needless arguments or fights or whatever. So let's just dive into it. I think I discovered some myths that were busted completely that I assumed that aren't true, and some action steps. So the biggest one, and this is probably the number one thing if you take nothing else away from this, is very simple. Many people, and myself included, assume that, we have all these different traits that you can be: extroverted, introverted, confident, dominant, aggressive, or you could be shy, you could be charismatic, rule breaking, all these different characteristics. And you assume that you have to be as good as you can in every single one of these different areas. Now, the DISC assessment breaks it into 4 quadrants: D, I, S, and C. Each of those with many traits underneath them. D is domineering, I is more like social, C is more compliant and analytical. And people assume that you have to be the best at all 4 of these quadrants, and that's not actually the truth. Instead, what you want to do is actually try and be self-aware. Which of those quadrants are you high and low at? If you're an introverted analytical person like me, you could be a high S and C and low D and I. Or you could be the opposite. Maybe you're a very extroverted, aggressive, adventurous person who's very social and very secure and confident and comfortable in social settings with many people. Once you're aware of that, I think the big mistake people make is that they assume that, I just gotta, complete myself by becoming great at everything. I have to become extroverted if I'm introverted, or I have to be something I'm not. And that's where that whole piece of advice you get from girls where they tell you, just be yourself. It's actually really bad dating advice. Just be yourself. But there is a small grain of truth to that, which is not just, keep doing what you're doing that's making you fail with women. But there's a grain of truth to that statement, which is that you have to realize who you are, because you cannot reverse the extremes of who you are and try and be someone you're not. So instead of trying to become the best at everything, what you want to do is identify what your strengths are and your weaknesses. And once you've identified those, you want to calibrate so that you aren't on the extremes of any of those traits. Consider someone who is too action oriented. Every little idea they get, immediately they want to take action on it. Well, extremes are usually bad, because if you take that to extreme, what's the problem? Well, You don't think things through. You don't make decisions thoroughly by considering all the outcomes. What's a real world example of that? Maybe you buy shoes and clothing, and you buy food and possessions on impulse. And that leads you to bad decisions. Maybe you buy a bunch of shoes that you can't return, that you can't wear because they're the wrong size and the wrong color, and it's because you were too impulsive. And now you've wasted all this money, which you could have spent investing in yourself, building businesses, or you just using that money better to compound it or grow it or invest it so you make more money. Or for whatever other reason, you've just made a huge mistake financially. So that's extreme. What's the other end of the extreme? Well, you're not action-oriented enough. So that could be someone who spends way too much time analyzing. They have to read 50 blog articles on shoe reviews before they even consider buying a shoe. And then they have to do this and that. And by the time they actually buy the shoe, it ends up being, outdated, or it took 2 years, and that person never gets anything done because they're so analytical and too averse to action that they never put anything out the door, and therefore they never actually end up building a business. So both ends of the extreme are not ideal. So essentially what you're doing here is, first off, just identifying where are you proficient at, where are you not proficient at, and then adjusting so that you're self-aware enough to realize where you're going. Another analogy is anyone who's high D is usually very aggressive or adventurous or action-oriented. And the problem with that is if they're around all these people who are high C or high S, very compliant, very analytical, maybe very shy or introverted, that's like a bull in the china shop. You're just going to destroy everything, and you're not going to account for other people. The biggest, according to the DISC assessment, the biggest clash of cultures comes from when people who are extreme D meet people who are extreme C, because one person is really into the rules and following the rules and doing everything by the book, and the other one is just like, they don't care about rules, they just do whatever they want. And what ends up happening is, one person gets extremely offended because the high D might be like, oh, we don't need to do anything, we just gotta, who cares about these rules or procedures, let's just sign the contract. And that is going to offend a lot of C's who really value rules and procedures, and you're not going to close that sale. You're not going to get that customer. You're not going to obtain something because of that clash of cultures. Now, it doesn't have to be this way. If you just understand who you are and understand better who the other person is, you improve your emotional and social intelligence, and you don't have to be political or turn into someone you're not, or be manipulative or psychotic or unethical. All you have to do is understand who you are, and then understand who they are, and change how you deliver the message in a more thoughtful way, and you will go far, 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 far in life. So here's an example. Let's say you have this big $1 million contract that you're trying to get signed. You're a high D person. You're out there. You're adventurous. You want to get things done. You want to tackle the beast. You want to ride the bull. You want to kill. That's how you are. You're kind of like an adventurer, a go-getter. And the person who's going to sign the contract, he has the money. He's a high C. And you know that because you've seen him and experienced how he behaves. And he really cares about the rules. So it would be a bad mistake for you to be like, oh, it doesn't matter about these rules, let's just sign a contract. Or, he starts emphasizing, oh, is this point, I don't really like it, if you could just change it slightly, and you just like ignore that, or you don't pay it its importance, you're going to get screwed over. You're not going to get the contract signed. However, if you just end up understanding him a bit more and delivering it a bit more thoughtfully, and emphasize the importance of the rules, or coordinate with your team with someone who's high C who understands these rules better, you get it done. You actually get something where they value what they value. You're not stepping on any toes, and you get that contract signed. So for both parties, it's a win-win situation, and it's all down to really seeing things from the other person's shoes, coordinating with that in the delivery, and being effective at it. The one reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I'm really bad at this stuff, and I see the immense value at getting better at it. And it always excites me and gives me hope when I'm told or I know that I can improve at this and I can get better and I can get massive results from this. Here's another less obvious example of how this can be used. Now, there's also, the DISC also breaks down an assessment into drivers. And what this means is that not only does the DISC assessment assess you on the different personality traits, but it also assesses you on motivational drivers. What ultimately drives why you do things. And people actually vary quite a lot on these. Some people are very selfless. These are people who run nonprofit organizations, they're very into charity work and all these things. And other people are more selfless. Other people are more concerned about collaborative and team dynamics. Other people are concerned about their own intentional results, and they're concerned about what will drive performance. And they're really into measuring those results and seeing those charts tick up. So what can you do with such an assessment of these different people? Well, if you know what drives you and/or what drives other people, you can use this so that you can motivate other people to get what you want done and what they want done in a more orderly, efficient, effective fashion. So here's a great example. There's plenty of people I know who are, well, not a lot, a couple people who are high selfless. Their driver is clearly sorry guys, the connection dropped. So resuming where I left off, there are people who are very selfless in nature. So if you meet some of these people, it's very clear that they care more about helping others and, maybe donating to a charitable organization or doing things to help people in need. That's something that you want to highlight when you assign them tasks or try and motivate them to do something. Because if you try and do the opposite and you keep talking about, this will increase results and this will push up performance and all these things, and they don't really care about that, then you're speaking to the wrong choir. You're not preaching to the right choir, and it's going to go in one ear and out the other, and you're not going to actually accomplish anything with this person. They're not going to really be moved to do whatever you want them to do. However, if you appeal to their sense of positioning, and again, you don't have to do this in an unethical way. It can be completely ethical. It's just a matter of positioning. For example, there could be an initiative. Let's say it's a fundraiser event where you're raising money to donate and help a children's hospital. If you highlight, because they have that type of event has both aspects. It has aspects where there's numbers involved and you can kind of see the charts tick up and the money move up, and there's aspects where it's more about the selfless aspect of helping people in need. If you focus on highlighting the wrong things, which in this case it would be I would say numbers and fundraising money go up versus how many people's lives you save, you're not going to appeal to a selfless person. So in that way, it's quite useful, in fact, to see the value of a DISC assessment. And some of you can't afford a DISC assessment. It is quite pricey and maybe overboard in terms of how comprehensive it is. So there are cheaper tests out there that actually help you out. So another one is the Strengths Finder, which is only like $20. I actually ended up buying strengths finder test too, and it's useful. It's not as comprehensive, but it is still quite useful in identifying your strengths, and it's more than good enough to get you started and get you into a good fundamental place to figure out what the heck you value and what you're really good at. For me, I've taken it a few times. Sometimes it's good to take it more than once because maybe it was a fluke the first time. And for me, what's consistently come up as the number one strength is learner. But I want to make sure that you understand that not one thing is better than the other. Not one thing is good or bad. I think a lot of people, they see something and they say, oh, I'm an introvert, that's bad. Or, oh, I care more about learning than I do about helping others, that's bad. There's no good or bad to any of this. It's just what you are and how you can improve or not improve, and which areas you can highlight. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I learned from learning about all these personality tests and reading all those introverted books out there, like Quiet, the Power of Introvert and Introversion Power, and seeing all the studies, the scientific studies and surveys behind this. It's not about good or bad. It's about what can you do, what's better or worse, pretty much what can you improve upon knowing who you are. And that none of these traits, whether it's introverted, domineering, confident, shy, quiet, are necessarily bad, because these tests don't really focus on any of those specific things. They focus on not shyness, but like more arbitrary traits like learner or carer or compliant. And so there's nothing good or bad about them. It's mainly about what can you use to double down on those. Hopefully this